en prettig Sinterklaasfeest. Yesterday it was Sinterklaas for Holland and Germany, I believe. I don't know if any other countries celebrated on that day, but today Belgium celebrates it. So I am still on topic, kind of. So Sinterklaas is basically Saint Nick's birthday, which is the bishop that Santa Claus was based on. So basically Coca-Cola saw Saint Nick's and thought, hey, that would make a great character to build a whole entire holiday around. So they took that, made him fat, shoved him into the North Pole, and instead of a horse he has reindeer flying through the sky, and instead of his normal human helpers he has elves. Makes sense, right? So anyway, Saint Nick came from Turkey, and on his birthday he would go around and help the poor, either by gifting them food or clothes and stuff like that. And that kind of turned into a tradition. I don't know exactly why it's so prevalent in Holland. I guess because we've had very close relations with Turkey. Our country's flower is a tulip, which is actually a Turkish flower. And people always think it's Dutch, but it's not. It's from Turkey. So we've always had very close ties with Turkey. I guess that's why. Anyway, for us kids, it gave us a very cool holiday. Controversy aside, I know there's a lot of controversy around Saint Nick's helpers. I will not discuss that in this video. I do not agree with how they are portrayed. I never have, even as a kid, and I'm glad they're going to change it. But this is going to be a light-hearted video, so if you want to look into that, just Google it. You'll find a lot of articles about it, because there's a lot of hoo-ha for a very long time, and I hope they will change things eventually. But the older generations are quite stubborn when it comes to, but it's tradition. Anyway, that aside, it's a really cool holiday for kids, and it's way closer to the traditional story of Saint Nicholas instead of Santa Claus, which had nothing to do with Christ whatsoever. So one of the things that my parents did when I was a kid was they would pretend that Saint Nick and his helpers would come into the house and throw loads of candy into the living room, which was called strooigoed, which is a combination of, you know, the nougat type fake banana sweets, candies. I don't know what they're called. I know the Dutch word for it, schuimpjes, but I don't know the English word for it. I guess it's nougat, I don't know. And gummies and biscuits, which are made with speculaas spices, which is very similar to pumpkin pie spices. So they would throw this into the living room and pretend that it was done by Saint Nick and his helpers. So yeah, you've got like Pete there, his helper, and a deformed biscuit. They're actually like this. They're very, very tasty. And oh, it's still too bright. I tried to turn down the light, but it's still quite bright. Anyway, that's Saint Nick. Yeah, and it's just really, it was just so much fun. As a child, I was always so excited to have him visit me every 5th of December. Or did they do it the night before? Because one of the other traditions is to put your shoe out the night before. So you put your shoe or your clog, like I did. I had a wooden clog that I used. Fill it with carrots or hay for the horse. And a bowl of water for the horse, and then wait for Saint Nick to come down the chimney, and he would leave a little present in your shoe the next day. And that was like one of the coolest things, and I don't know where that tradition came from, because the original Saint Nick just went around on his horse with his helpers or his servants and go to the poor. So I don't know where the whole chimney thing came from. I think they just decided that that was the easiest way for someone to get into their house without anybody noticing. And the other thing that is a thing to eat is speculaaskoek. So it's similar to the biscuits that is in strooigoed, but this is like the shape of Saint Nick. This is like a tiny one. You can get huge ones. I used to love them. Oh, these are made by Lotus. I didn't realize. Yeah, I used to love the really big ones and just eat myself sick on one. They used to be really thick as well, but I couldn't bring these with me. My mum gave these to me when I was over in Holland this year. And I couldn't take the big ones with me because it was too heavy, and they would also break. And these didn't break, they stayed intact. So yeah, again, these are very similar to pumpkin spice, but different. The other thing that's a tradition to eat around Sinterklaas feest is marzipan. Or marzipan? How do you... Yeah, marzipan, isn't it? Marzipan. So... I get so confused between languages, seriously, especially when words are very similar. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, so yeah, I can show you this way. So that's like an apple, that's an orange, and that's a peach, I think. They're usually in shape of fruits. They can also be in shape of Saint Nick, or his helpers, or a horse, or anything really. Pigs, I've had pigs before, I don't know why. But yeah, if you don't know marzipan, it's made out of almonds. So if you don't like almonds or you have a nut allergy, definitely do not eat this. It would kill you. But I always thought as a child it was such a fancy treat, especially if they were like really beautifully made. I just almost didn't want to eat it. I would just admire it for weeks, and then my mom was like, you gotta eat it before it spoils. Fun fact, that reminds me of when I had my first ice cream with sprinkles on top. You know, the rainbow sprinkles? I thought they were so beautiful that I just stared at it and I didn't eat my ice cream, and then it melted all the way down my arm and I got really upset that the beautiful thing wasn't there anymore. I was weird from a very early age. Another traditional thing that you eat is borstplaat. Oh, borstplaat. Which is made out of creamed butter. Roomboter. I don't know what the equivalent is of roomboter in English. Is it full fat butter? It's butter with cream in it, so it's really creamy and it's delicious. So this is sugar and cream, like really healthy. And I'll take one out. Ah, the crackling. See, now you can't tell what it is. And it's really nice. It's crunchy on the outside, slightly softer on the inside. And it's almost like a fondant, but not really a fondant. That's the best way I can describe it. It's harder than a fondant, but it's not like royal icing, you know? So it's not the super hard stuff. I hate royal icing with a passion. This is nice. It melts in the mouth. This is caramel, speculaas again, and was it chocolate? Caramel. A caramel, vanilla with chocolate and speculaas. Okay, so yeah, three flavors. This also used to be a royal treat for me as a kid. Now, the creme de la creme, usually for me, was the chocolate letter. I don't know where the tradition came from. I've not looked it up. I did very little research in advance. But the chocolate letter. So usually as a child, you get a chocolate letter, the first initial of your name. But my dad gave me a letter of the Sint, so Saint Nick. But it's also for Stout, which is my surname, so, you know, could go both ways. And against my better judgment, I let him know that white chocolate is my favorite. So I got a white chocolate letter this year. Oh. And it's always beautifully decorated. This one's filled with hazelnut praline, which is like the best thing ever. I love Dutch chocolates. They're way better than any other chocolates I've had. Even Belgian chocolate is not as nice as Dutch. I think Dutch dairy is very different, but I'm also way more allergic to Dutch dairy, so there's a win and a lose there. But yeah, it's just beautifully decorated. This is like the lesser decorated ones, but oh, I'm gonna enjoy this, but I'm gonna be very ill if I do. And yeah, it's just giving gifts, and it's like a mini Christmas, basically. And we used to do a thing called surprise, which is a surprise, but a butcherized version of the French words. Which basically meant that it was like a Secret Santa type thing. But then when you had someone for Secret Santa, you had to build the packing, the wrapping for the gift in the theme that the gift was in. So for example, someone is a mechanic and they wanted a wrench. Then you could make a motor of a car out of cardboard and put the wrench in that. And that would be the gift. And you had to write a poem to go with it as well, because writing a poem from Saint Nick was one of the traditions as well. And my dad actually sent me one this year, which was quite nice. Or Saint Nick sent me one this year, and it was really nice. And I always looked forward to that, and I really miss that tradition the most, is the creativity and the building. And I think I recently mentioned to someone that with my very first relationship, I made a heart-shaped box from Nirvana. And I think that was with Saint Nick's. I think it was why, because I can't remember why I would have done that. I still have it because it was an asshole, so I took it back. I still have it. But yeah, I made the heart-shaped box from the album. And I was so proud of that. And just all the things that I created over the years, and even people who think that they're not creative made such amazing things. And it was just really nice. So I really miss that. And I always get very nostalgic around this time of year and feel kind of sad. But I'm still glad that I have a little bit of home here and I can enjoy the flavors and kind of spread the tradition a little bit. So for all my Dutch viewers, I hope you had a nice Sinterklaas, and also my German and Belgian viewers. Let me know if there are any other countries that celebrate this as well. I don't know, I've not looked into it. I bet you Luxembourg and stuff like that does it. I'm not entirely sure. I should have looked into it. I am bad, vlogger. I am bad. But from my point of view, these were the things that we ate, or still eat every year, and it's a nice tradition to hold on to. It just needs to improve in some areas. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you all had a great 5th and 6th of December. Much love to you all.